What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Gotham Season 3, Episode 20, Pretty Hate Machine. So things are really kicking off now at the end of Season 3. 2 episodes left after this one, and I'm really excited to see where it's going. For the first time in several episodes, it finally feels less cluttered. Instead of there being 10 different stories going on, a couple side stories and the main story on top of it, this just felt like 3 different storylines. And the reason for that is a lot of the side stories that we've had most of this season have finally tied into the main plot. And the big one being, obviously, Jim and Lee. Finally ties in with Alice Tetch's blood and everything going on with the Court of Owls and whoever this secret organization that's running the Court of Owls is. It finally all ties together. So instead of we're at this story and then we're at this story and then we're at this story, it's just we've got Jim and Lee, we've got pretty much Alfred and Bruce, kind of, and then we've got Riddler and Penguin. So of those 3, obviously the one that stands out the most has to be Riddler and Penguin, because it really still doesn't tie into the overarching story that much. But we see them pretty much playing a little game of cat and mouse, where Riddler is using his resources with Barbara, Butch, and Tabitha, and they're trying to track down Penguin. Penguin, meanwhile, finds out that he no longer has any sort of RV that he used to back him up. So he's trying to figure out what to do next, what's going to be his next step. He's got to figure out a way to, I guess, keep himself alive until he can find the resources to manage to fight back against Riddler and Barbara. And so, we have a few scenes. One where he gets found inside this little safe house. Selina gets captured, but Penguin and Ivy manage to escape. They use Selina to get through to Ivy and say, hey, found Bridget, where are you guys at? So they find out where Penguin and Ivy are staying. They show up, and then out of nowhere, Fish Mooney comes in and just saves Penguin's life. I am interested to see where this is going, but at the same time, I'm not a big Fish Mooney fan. I think I said this in an earlier review. It feels like she's playing a part compared to all these other actors and actresses who honestly feel very natural in these roles. Watching Robin Lord Taylor and Corey Michael Smith play these 2 characters of Penguin and Riddler, it feels like they were born to play these parts. Like, they look it, they sound it. It's like you couldn't imagine them being anything else but this. Jada Pinkett Smith it feels like she's just acting. It feels like she's acting over the top. And I don't know, that's been one of my biggest frustrations with the character overall. Maybe she'll be okay now. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but if I have to see her go one more time, probably going to throw something at the screen. But yeah, so she has Penguin now for whatever reason. I'm curious to see where this is going, but on to the main story. We start off, we've got, obviously, Jim and Harvey are trying to find out where Bruce is. Alfred's helping out. They go to this Court of Owls place that's been taken out by Bruce and the old guy that's been working with him. Still don't really know who this guy is. I've said before there's a possibility it might be Ra's al Ghul, but I'm assuming it's not because he dies in this episode. But he's just some old guy that's been helping Bruce. I assume he's part of the League of Assassins. I'll be curious to see what exactly is going on, who's the leader of it all. Is it going to be Ra's al Ghul, or is it going to be somebody else that maybe we've already met? But yeah, so he tries to get Bruce to give the order to take out this little Court of Owls, I guess, the leaders of the Court of Owls. Bruce hesitates because there's still that good in him. So the old guy gives the order, kills off everybody in the room. Jim and Harvey show up late, manage to get the information from one of the guys who's just barely alive. And so now this sort of kicks off the whole episode where they find out about the attack. Jim goes to Lee's house because he finds out she took the virus and there's a chance that she may have injected herself. He gets there, we find out from her that she has taken it and discovered that she actually loves the darkness in Jim, and that's why she still loves him. But because he's denying that dark side of himself and he's trying to be a hero, she doesn't like that, and so she's like, I'm going to show you your dark side. They start a fight, and then it gets cut off, and we have to go to another scene. And honestly, it is still a problem for me that these scenes are getting cut short, because it seems like something interesting could have happened there. But it's the only time in this entire episode that happens. The rest of the episode flows very well. It's just this one time she throws him to the floor, says she's going to release his inner darkness, and then cut next scene to Penguin and Ivy with Selina. But yeah, we see that she stuffs him in the trunk, takes him and buries him alive, goes to the precinct and says, hey, I've got Jim Gordon buried alive. He's going to release his inner darkness. I'm going to make sure everybody sees it. And so now it's a race against the clock. As Jim is running out of air, Harvey and some of the policemen with dogs are trying to track him down because they find kind of the general area where he should be. Meanwhile, Alfred's trying to find out where Bruce is, and the other policemen are trying to figure out about the attack. Alfred questions Dr. Strange. Another amazing Alfred scene as he dangles him off the side of the building, threatens his life. And then at the end of all of it, he says, well, I'm a man of my word, I'll let you walk. After you wake up, he's like, I don't understand what you... and knocks him out. And I'm just like, go Alfred! Guy is such a better character in this than any other Alfred I think I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot, because there have been some really good Alfreds. But yeah, so we have all of this sort of coming together. We see Jim figures out about where the virus is going to be released from based on some of Catherine's words just as the radio cuts out, which means he's the only one that knows where it's going to be. And so he weighs the options and he says, you know what, I'd rather take this and manage to escape to save all these people than stay in here and die, and all those other people are affected too. We see Harvey manages to find the coffin just as he realizes that the virus has been taken and Jim's out walking around. Lee hears this announcement on all the radios, manages to get the keys off this one dumbass guard because we have to find some way for her to get out. And so this all leads to this final scene where we see Bruce is standing with the old guy, I assume it looked like the Wayne Tower building, I think. But he's standing there with him looking upon the building and saying, this is your destiny, Bruce, do it, and from the ashes a dark hero will rise, and it will be you. Alfred shows up just in the nick of time, tries to get through to Bruce, but ultimately the old guy steps in the way. Alfred takes that moment to kill him, and Bruce, seeing his sensei get killed, obviously is very hurt by this, and I assume there will be some healing to have to be done because he was brainwashed at this point. So it probably will still work out in the end. I assume Alfred or Jim will be able to get through to him somehow. But for right now, obviously, he's looking at Alfred like a traitor because he killed the man that was training him, pretty much his master at the time. Meanwhile, we go to the building and Jim's trying to stop the device from setting off the virus into the air. So he manages to find it. He manages to fight off the one guy guarding it because the blood makes him super strong. And Lee is in there because Gotham always have to have this moment where things look like they're about to work out okay, and then all of a sudden they don't. It feels like every season has had this where it looks like the good guys are about to win, but we're 3 episodes from the end, and it's like, wait a minute, how can it end now? How can he stop this? And so ultimately Lee manages to keep him from stopping the device. The virus actually does release, and so now the entire building is infected. So really exciting, but at the same time it almost kind of feels same exact as the past 2 seasons. It feels like there's always this moment where the bad guys now have the upper hand. I feel like, what was it? There was a moment in season 2 where all of a sudden the villains were all released from Arkham, and it seemed like things are just going to go nuts now. So there does feel like there's this scene in every single season, but now I'm really curious about what's going to happen because it felt like Jim had a noble reason for going there, had a noble reason for injecting himself with the virus. Now, obviously with the virus, you still manage to keep hold of your mental faculties for a little bit. I think they said it took, 2 weeks for Barnes to be completely infected with it. So maybe it's still slowly infecting him, so maybe he's still Jim for now, but he still will be infected to the point where he loses his mind later. But I'll be really curious to see if, because he does have this darkness within him that he's managed to almost sort of conquer a little bit, I'm curious to see if the virus is going to have that much of an effect on him, or if he's lived with this darkness for so long that it doesn't affect him as much as, say, Captain Barnes, who is typically not full of darkness, and Lee, who really didn't have a whole lot of darkness. Obviously, they're being affected very much. I'm thinking Jim might not be infected that much, but I guess we'll see what's going to happen next. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to seeing how this whole season is going to come to an end. But yeah, that's about it for this episode. Good episode overall. Not as many problems as they have been. The editing was a lot better, so that's a huge improvement. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Gotham reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.